The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Eagle Point Funding's webinar, Department of Defense Small Business Grant for Information Systems, due October 24, 2018. I'll be today's presenter, Avraham Melm, the Director of Marketing and Sales Support here at Eagle Point Funding. This is my contact information should you like to reach out. This is my email address and my phone number. We'll start today's webinar by going over some basics about the SBIR and STTR program, which is the topic of today's conversation from the Department of Defense. I'll also talk to you a little bit about the federal funding opportunities that are available in general, and then we'll dive into the 14 topics today for info systems. So just to explain a little history and background on SBIR STTR, SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation Research, and STTR stands for Small Business Technology Transfer. Both of these programs are small business geared federal grant programs that help fund fund small businesses that are looking for R&D grants from the U.S. government. They're the staple programs for R&D grants. There are larger grants available beyond SBIR and STTR, but these are kind of the basic programs available. A little bit about SBIR and STTR. They support R&D and financing of cutting-edge technologies. There's about $2.5 billion annually set aside for these programs. The SBIR programs have awarded over $43 billion to research-intensive American small businesses to date, and about 160,000 awards have been granted to date. You can find more information like this from the SBIR website, www.sbir.gov. I think it's important to understand what the STTR program is better if you're going to apply, just in case you're not familiar with it. SBIR, as I mentioned, is a standalone business applying for a grant, a straight-up grant opportunity. STTR is the sister program of SBIR. Basically, what it means is it involves a small business partnering with a research institution such as a university to apply for a federal grant jointly. STTR makes up 0.4% of the extramural research budget, which comes out to about a little bit more than $250 million. It's a smaller budget than the SBIR program, but there is still a significant number. It has grown to about a little larger actually than 0.4 to a little bit larger, more like 0.45% of the budget by 2018. So 4 goals of the SBIR STTR program really quickly: meet federal research and development needs, increase private sector commercialization of innovation derived from federal research and development funding, stimulate technological innovation, foster and encourage participation by socially and economically disadvantaged persons. These are kind of the overall goals and guidelines for the SBIR STTR program, just to give you a bit of a sense for what the government's looking for and hoping to achieve. SBIR has 3 phases, so does STTR, but just for the sake of simplicity, we're going to focus on SBIR at this point. For the dollar amounts, the phase 1 of SBIR is $150K for 6 months of R&D. Phase 2 is $1 million for 2 years. And phase 3 is commercialization focus with no SBIR funding specifically from SBIR, but it usually has an award of about $1 million as well. About the DoD and their annual deadlines. There are 3 annual deadlines in February, June, and October for the DoD, the Department of Defense. This deadline is October 24th that we're talking about today. And just so you understand the scope of the DoD, they're the largest player in the federal funding space and in SBIR, and their budget is about $1 billion of the total budget. It's a large bulk of the budget available. Quickly, I'll cover here who typically wins grants. Over half of the awards are to firms with fewer than 25 people, which is pretty interesting. A third of awards are to firms of fewer than 10 people, and a fifth are minority or women-owned businesses. Here you see a list of all the departments that participate in the SBIR program. All of the departments participate in the SBIR program, but with STTR, all the departments do not participate in the program. So I've broken down here clearly so you understand which departments do and don't, because it's quite helpful in terms of hedging your expectations for what departments you can apply for a research institution partnership type grant, which you can't. So here you see, just take a look at the 11. Here on the following slide, you see the 5, which are fewer that participate in the STTR program. These 5 are the only ones that participate in STTR. The remainder do not. The remainder all participate in SBIR, which I explained the difference earlier. For STTR, these are the only 5: the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, HHS, NASA, and NSF. Okay, just now we'll enter the part where I give you a little background on federal funding in general. The federal budget is $176.8 billion for this year. It's quite large. It's larger than previously. It was expected to be about $151 billion, and it was revised and published as much larger than expected. So there's a lot of money available. Just to even conceive of the number, $176.8 billion is a lot of money. So there's a lot of opportunity for your companies to receive funding. It's just a matter of bothering to apply. Here you see a breakdown in a pie graph of the different grant mechanisms available for federal grants. I was talking to you about SBIR, STTR up until now. There is another major opportunity called BAA, which stands for Broad Agency Announcement. And that makes up 96.4% of the pie, whereas SBIR makes up 3.2% and STTR 0.4%, which totals 3.6% of all total funding of that budget we were just looking at. So just keep in mind that we do work with BAAs too. If you're looking to work with a BAA, we could help you with that too. And also you should know, just in terms of applying, if you wanted to apply for a grant, BAAs are a great opportunity and you should be aware of it. Okay, what is the difference between federal grants, which are referred to as non-dilutive funding, and dilutive funding? Here you see a breakdown of the differences. Keep in mind, what is dilutive funding? It's usually venture capital investment. Federal funding, which is money from the government through grants, is different in that there's no equity transfer. That's why it's called non-dilutive, because your shares are not diluted when you receive funding. There's no interference. You don't have to take on any advisors or board members, and there's no problems with IP. You retain all IP rights. So there are a lot of huge advantages to getting a federal grant over a venture capital type deal, where yes, you receive cash, but you have to give up dilution of equity and stock shares when you receive the funding. Okay, we've reached the topics portion of the webinar. I'm going to go through them starting here. Topic number 1, Field Command Post-Free Space Optical Communications, or FSOC Mesh Network. This is through the Army. Develop robust FSOC voice data video communications network using visible or infrared light transmission for use in field command posts. Intercommunications networks with the objective of decreasing installation time, increasing data security and transmission capacity, while reducing electromagnetic or EM signature. Additionally, the government is seeking to establish the capability to sustain communications in near-range dispersed command post configurations via a mesh network, which can self-identify and self-configure the node access to the network. This project will align with the following Army Chief of Staff modernization priorities: distributed command post network infrastructures, network communications in denied environments, reduction in force electromagnetic signatures, and up-tempo force command and tactical operations. Topic 2, machine learning for defense applications. This is through the Air Force. The objective of this topic is to develop innovative approaches, to leverage advances in machine learning technologies to address specific defense challenges. Challenges can include countering machine learning assisted malware, identifying trusted or untrusted behaviors within a network, such as communications network or social network, etc., supply chain and infrastructure asset management, pattern recognition to discern dangerous behavior in crowds, or other related defense-relevant problems. Along with a specific problem, proposals must also identify sources of data that can be used to train and validate the proposed machine learning capabilities. Topic 3, cybersecurity of physical systems. This is through the Air Force again. The objective of this topic is to develop innovative systems or prototypes that address the capability to identify and mitigate intrusions into or manipulation of physical systems. Trends towards extending connectivity and electronic access to physical systems provide new attack surfaces, vulnerabilities, and safety concerns for transportation systems, healthcare systems, critical infrastructure systems, energy systems, and etc. Topic 4, characterization of broadcast and social media for indications and warnings. Through the Air Force, develop capability to identify leading indicators of impending events behaviors by identifying various leading indicators in broadcast and social media, such as speech, text, video, image, and cyber behaviors. Topic 5, secure cockpit to ground wireless data transfer. This is through the Air Force again. Develop a secure wireless data transfer system that can link and transmit secure data within and around a given radius of an aircraft's cockpit. It will replace the current arrangement that is currently a bulky, heavy, inconvenient to use, and unreliable cable. Topic 6. Research and testing of unmanned aircraft systems, UAS, for the delivery of food and supplies in support of contingency operations. This is through the DLA, the Defense Logistics Agency. The topic is mostly drones related. The idea here is to develop and promote innovative UAS delivery solutions in support of contingency operations and natural disaster relief efforts in the subsistence supply chain. Looking for UAS drone tech that reacts quickly in support of mobilization operations such as disaster relief efforts. They're looking to test the delivery of food and water to a specified location, simulating an area affected by natural disasters in the U.S. Topic 7. Sharing of defense research, development, testing, and evaluation, RDT&E, data distribution using distributed ledger technologies. This is through the DLA again, the Defense Logistics Agency. The idea is to develop a capability for efficiently and verifiably sharing documents and scientific data sets using distributed ledger or blockchain technologies. Demonstrate how such capability can be integrated with repositories implemented using conventional technologies such as XML databases. Topic 8. Technology development of fiber optic moorings for surface communication buoys. This is the Navy. The topic here is sensor data transmission and fiber optics. The SBIR topic seeks to support the transmission of Navy sensor data to and from subsea nodes to airplanes, Navy ships, and satellites using a compliant mooring connection cable that includes optical fibers. The cables would be used to moor buoys in ocean waves and ocean currents. The cable must be able to withstand motions of buoy tugging on the cable in ocean waves, ocean currents, and wind loading. Topic 9. Machine learning to enhance Navy service desk. This is again through the Navy. Develop a capability that improves upon current information technology or IT help desk and customer relations, specifically in parsing and analyzing help desk communications, text and speech, reports, and logs. The resulting data set will be used to employ technical enhancements to the IT support and customer relations management space. Topic 10. Automating procedural modeling of buildings from point cloud data. This is the NGA, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Topic is 3D models. The idea is to create scalable automated 3D building models similar to Google Maps from attributed point cloud data that render in a web browser to simulate an unknown environment. In other words, to generate building models from raw LiDAR and photogrammetrically derived point cloud data by automating a manual process through rule-based procedural modeling. Procedural modeling refers to a computer graphics technique. Deep learning, machine learning, and artificial intelligence can automate the detection of core building attributes from photogrammetrically derived and LiDAR point clouds. Topic 11. Resisting adversarial attacks with quantum machine learning. This is through the OSD, or the Office of the Secretary of Defense. The idea is to develop methods for machine learning that leverage quantum information science for increased robustness to adversarial attacks. Topic 12. Critical Program Information, or CPI, Identification and Assessment Tool. Again, this is through the OSD, the Office of the Secretary of Defense. The idea is to develop an application that facilitates the identification of CPI, or Critical Program Information identification, and indexes horizontal protection efforts. The CPI, or Critical Program Information tool, should automatically identify keywords surrounding the CPI and be formatted to search against networks for keyword-related documents. The tool will be used to standardize CPI identification and assist programs in industry to identify files that should be afforded a higher level of protection. There is no application available to provide a standardized, repeatable process for integrating steps to develop CPI. This effort will be used to develop a tool that incorporates CPI development processes into an easy-to-use application available for program protection and security personnel. This tool is expected to be available as a standalone application by the end of Phase 2 of SBIR, and developed with an open application programming interface, or API, for incorporation into laterally developing programs. Topic 13. Globally Integrated Wargaming. This is through US SOCOM, or US Special Operations Command. The topic is simply war games. The language used by the call here is to determine, quote, what is in the art of the possible, end quote, to improve wargaming strategies, perhaps by using big data analytic tools, machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, and pattern recognition. The topic calls for computationally efficient methods for displaying a large number of emerging sensor feeds into a dynamic environment for exercises in wargaming that supports experimentation and mission preparation via globally distributed command and control. It also suggests improvements in the field of social media, the Internet of Things, including mobile sensors and emerging video and 3D image processing from small unmanned aerial systems and satellite sensors. Okay, we reached the last topic 14. Interference rejection of strong signals within wideband communication receivers. This is through US SOCOM again, or again, the US Special Operations Command. The topic here is radio technology or communications. The idea is to develop innovative methods of reducing intermodulation distortion effects of strong signals on wideband communication receivers used in high frequency, very high frequency, and ultra high frequency radios. Potentially, they're looking for hardware and software techniques to automatically identify the presence of an interfering signal and reduce or cancel its effect on communication system performance. That should do it for the topics. I'll tell you a little bit now about Eagle Point Funding, who we are, and how we work. We're an international consulting firm specializing in non-dilutive funding. We're the biggest of its kind in the world. We were established in 1999. We have 70 plus full-time employees and 250 plus active clients. A little bit about our successes. We use a multi-submission strategy. We have over $1.5 billion awarded to date and roughly $70 million annually. And we're a success-oriented business model. Finally, this should almost wrap up the webinar. This is our model, proposed model for our fees structure for working with us on this specific SBIR DoD opportunity. We would charge $5,000 for SBIR Phase 1 with a success fee of 5%. And the same thing would be for Phase 2, $5,000 with a success fee of 5%. Okay, we've reached the Q&A. At this point, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask away by putting a question into the webinar app that you have in front of you. In the meantime, I think I should have Josh Barone, our Director of Business Development, on hand to do some Q&A with me. If he's not, hey Josh, how's it going? We'll start off the questions. So, Josh, I'll start off with a very popular question that a lot of people ask, which is, in your professional opinion, could you explain in short what people are looking what the government is looking for when they award a grant? What a company should ideally have when they're applying to win?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so it's a pretty common question, and the answer is surprisingly simple. The government is looking to invest in technologies that will likely not come into existence unless the government puts the money down. The government views themselves as the seed fund of America for technologies that are being developed by small businesses that otherwise would not see the light of day. So the first thing you need something which is revolutionary. You need something which is not your standard Me Too technology, which maybe would attract venture capitalists, but it won't attract the eyes of the federal government. With that said, if you have technology which is on the cutting edge, and you have a team also, and this is the second component that they're looking for teams that are capable of actually completing the research that they say they are capable and would like to do. So to recap, you need a technological roadmap, which is of the cutting edge, revolutionary technology. And the other thing is you need a team which is capable of actually executing that roadmap.
Awesome. Okay, Josh, I got kind of a general question, but I think it's really apropos for this webinar. Can you say a few words and maybe give us some background on what the Department of Defense typically invests in for cyber type topics like we talked about today, and what you could tell us just in general about the Department of Defense and their upcoming SBIR deadline.
Okay, so Department of Defense, first and foremost, is by far and large the biggest investor in technology. That means that they have a very, very wide range of technology that they're developing. Whether it's surprisingly a very hot topic is going to be cybersecurity. You'll also see them investing in materials technology or biotech. They have a very wide range of technology that they're investing in, which goes far above and beyond just weapons technology, which I think is what comes to mind when most of us think about the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense has multiple sub-agencies, each one with their own interests, but cybersecurity is a topic, as well as artificial intelligence, which is pretty much an interest topic of every single sub-agency and the Department of Defense as a whole. If we zoom out for a second and look at cybersecurity and AI, well, we know that the federal government is investing in cybersecurity to the tune of $14.4 billion in 2018 alone, and that includes all different agencies. So it's not just the Department of Defense. When it comes, and that includes, by the way, both contracts as well as R&D related technologies. We also know that the AI is an extremely relevant topic, and it seems like there's no technology that's coming out today that doesn't have some sort of deep learning component. With that said, DARPA, which is a sub-agency of the Department of Defense, which was actually founded under the Kennedy administration with the intent to keep the U.S. always at the forefront of technology on the global scene. They have dedicated $2 billion alone for AI-related research and development over the next coming years. So it's a good time to be in the space of info systems, and specifically as it relates to deep learning, AI. Also, robotics is extremely important, as well as and obviously cybersecurity.
Great, that was really helpful. Okay. There are no further questions from the crowd, so with those two questions, I think we will wrap it up and move forward. Thank you so much, Josh, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Great. So yeah, we're basically about to end the webinar here. Here quickly, I have a list of the upcoming webinars from this series about the DoD SBIR. Tomorrow we're covering nuclear processes, and then next week, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, we're covering air platforms, battle space, and STTR for the DoD. And that should complete the series, the 12-part series. With that, I'll end the webinar. Here's my contact information for anyone who wants to reach out. Here's my phone number and my email address. And also here's a link to my calendar if you want to book a meeting straight up with this link. I really am glad everyone joined. Hope you enjoyed, and wish you all a great rest of the day, and hope to hear from you guys soon. Thank you so much for joining. Bye-bye.